I always call my mother right after Saturday. So I called her today to tell her I won't be able to speak to her tonight, but she shouldn't worry. So she said, why? So I said, because I'm having a speaker. It was a speaker. So I told her, Noam. She says, tell her I read the book. So this is my message from my mother. In any case, a few weeks ago, or a month ago, I got an email from Chaim and Rachel that we're coming to Arizona. And if we want, we're volunteering to speak for us tonight. And I was debating, because it is a weekend, and in Arizona, the weekend is, you want to be by yourself, you want to be with your family, you want to travel or just be home. And I wasn't sure if we should or shouldn't have you to speak tonight. But then I said, even if it's only us, it's also good. And so I want to thank them for offering to be able to speak here tonight. And that we didn't have to charge anyone, because they didn't charge us. And they came here Thursday night, and we right away clicked, and right away, like family who, even though we never saw each other before, as one mishpacha. It really was a great Chabad that we had with the Noams and other guests. And without any further ado, I also want to listen to the story, so I'll just introduce Rachel and Noam here for
Shabbat Tov, everybody. I'm going to tell you today's story about...
Just one announcement, put the cell phones on vibrate, including myself. Yeah.
About near-death experience. Maybe you heard about this phenomena. But I want to start my story just to tell you the background. And before I start, I want to tell you about there was one chosed, a great chosed. He was the chosed of the middle Rebbe. That's how he was called, the son of old Rebbe. And he said that a chosed is unbounded wisdom in bones and flesh. And I say that it's true about every Jew. And I never knew that I had a spiritual part and a materialistic part. I never knew that I had a neshama, or you know what is a neshama, or I have to use the word soul. I never knew I had a soul because I was growing in a kibbutz in Israel. And this kibbutz was, I don't know if you heard of the Shomer HaTzair movement. It was a Zionistic movement that came from Eastern Europe. And they started to come to Israel before the Second World War. And they were not religious. Most of them young people from families, but they decided they are going to be the land of Israel for the Jews. And after maybe some of them were more religious, but after they came to Israel, since there were no rabbis there, and Israel was like a desert, before the Jews started to come back to Israel, there was nothing in Israel. And so after a while they forget, most of the tradition. They kept a few things, but we were grown like we didn't know nothing. There was no synagogue in the kibbutz. We had no idea what is a Torah book, and we like in Russia. We were growing like in Russia. We didn't know anything. And my father came to Israel in the 30s, before the Second World War, and then he was volunteered to the Jewish Brigade. He fought the Second World War in Europe. And after the war, he came back. And my mother was a Holocaust survivor who came to Israel, and they were met, and they were married. And she came to the kibbutz. She was not, maybe she was a Zionist, but she was not against God. She came from a very Kabbalistic family. And there were always arguments, because she was arguing with the whole kibbutz. They always say, there's no God. She said, there is a God. And she used to tell me, even if you hear people say this, don't believe it. I know there's God, my mother told me, my grandmother, and you should know there is a God. And I remember myself as a teenage, it was when I was about 15, my grandmother passed away. And I was, after a while, I like to walk, where I was grown, it is in the south part of Israel. It's a very beautiful place. In the winter, we have carpets of red flowers, very nice. I used to walk in the fields, and I really liked, the nature. And I had started to say, well, God, if you are there, I want to see you. Like, very naive, like a young person. And then when I was grown up, I went to the army, then I went to learn. I learned with my husband, we learned industrial engineering. And when I was a student, one day I walked in the street of Tel Aviv. We were in Ramat Gan, it's close to Tel Aviv. And suddenly a heavy board fell on my head from the 6th floor of a building that was in constructions. And when the board fell on my head, right away my body fell on the ground and my neshama went out of the body. Now I cannot tell you how I went out of the body, I don't know. I just remember myself flying about 5 or 6 meters high, and I saw my body. And since it was quite crowded, the street, many people were around my body, and they look up at the builders, and they start to shout. And the people from the top, the builders, they look down, everybody's shouting, and I am flying in the middle, and I'm not in the body. And nobody ever told me that I have a neshama, that is not the body. I always thought I was the body. I had all the abilities that I have in the body. If you learn Tanya here, do you have a Tanya lessons here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So in the Tanya, the old Rebbe said that the neshama has everything that, all the abilities that the body has, also the neshama has. Now if the body we are able to see through the body, so the neshama can see. The neshama doesn't need the body to see. The neshama doesn't need the body to think, or to hear, or to feel, because everything in the neshama is in the neshama. And this is, by the way, the reason why we are called in the Shona Kodesh, we are called Adam. Adam is from the word domeh. Domeh in Hebrew is alike. So we are called Adam because we are like what is above us, the worlds above us. We have all the abilities, every one of us has all the abilities of what is above us, which you don't see these abilities in another creatures, not in planets or animals or whatever. And also as Jews, we also have something more. We have a sparkle of the unbounded, which we are special as the Jews, we have this. And this is why we have a special mission in this world, which I didn't know until this time. So when I was flying and I see everything, and I was feeling very well, very good. I felt very great, like people are afraid to pass away, to die, and they, I think you have. But I really felt very good, because when I'm in the body, then I'm limited. I can't see very well, I need the glasses, I can't hear very well, I need something, And so sometimes I'm tired, and I don't feel, I'm dizzy, I don't feel very well, but when I went out of the body, everything was 100%. I could see very sharp, very good. I could hear very good. And my thinking was very fast, much better than it is in the body. So I wanted to tell the people that are shouting in the street, I want to tell them, I feel great, I am okay, everything is okay. But I couldn't talk to them because I was not in the body. I was outside of the body. And since the only way that we can connect in this world is only the body, because the body is like a cloth to the neshama, to the soul. The soul is using the body. But like when I'm standing here and I'm talking to you, who is talking to you? It's the neshama who is talking, it's not the body. The body is only the tool. So I couldn't talk to them. And after a while, everything started to fade away, you know, everything that I saw in the street. And I came into hazy, into a cloud, you know, like when the airplane is going to clouds when it's flying. And from this cloud, I went into a very dark place. And most people, they describe it as a tunnel, because I saw very, very far away, I saw like a light of a little star. And then I realized that I am attracted to this little light, and I'm flying very, very fast to the light. And I'm flying in this tunnel. And then at one moment, I left this tunnel and I came into the light. And by the moment that I came into the light, I realized that I was out of any existence that I knew when I was in the body. I already realized that I'm not in the body. I left this world. Nothing is the same as I knew when I was in the body. It's different place, different world. And I call it a light because I don't know, when I wrote my book, by the way, my book in English, the name is The View from Above, but you cannot get it. We are going to put it on the internet soon, and everybody will be able to read it and print it. But now, it wasn't printed for a few years, so you can't get it anywhere. Okay, so in my book, I called it Havaya in Hebrew. So I don't know what is, if there is a word in English to translate this, but anyway, it's a whole existence. Havaya is a whole existence. Like in this life, it was a whole existence of everything good that we know. And everything is unbounded, and the light itself is so shiny, it's so bright, it's so beautiful. And the first thing I wanted to do was to close my eyes because I couldn't bear it. It was such shiny light. But I couldn't close my eyes because I was not in the body. And so I realized that I cannot run away from it. I'm there in the light. And also it has unbounded wisdom and unbounded kindness and unbounded beauty and unbounded pleasant and unbounded everything good you can you ever experienced, you know, in this world. And so I felt like it was so great, you know, that I was melting into the light. And I'm going to vanish. I will not be any existent very soon. And you know, I also in the Tanya, the old Rebbe, he says that the Torah that we learn in this world and the mitzvahs that we keep as Jews, it is like a cloth to the soul, to the neshama, so we will be able to exist in this light, because otherwise we are going to melt into the light. So the light started to connect with me, and it was like a telepathic connection. Now, when we are in the body, we can talk, we can speak, we are the speaker here. But when we are out of the body, then everything, we have all the abilities, we can talk. But the talking is, there is in Chassidus, there's an expression. It says, ראייה שלמעלה מהשגה. It's a scene that it's above our concept. And the word, I think the word telepathy is the closest word in English to this experience. So the light started to show me all my life. It was like 3 dimensions movie. And I saw a very, very fast picture, of all my life since the day I was born until the day that I went out of my body. So it was about 3 months after the 73 war in Israel. And I was 22 years old by this time, which is more than 40 years ago. And I saw 22 years, all my life, everything I did, everything, we read now, on Shabbos we read the Pirkei Avot. And in Pirkei Avot it's written, דע מה למעלה ממך, עין רואה ואוזן שומעת, וכל מעשיך בספר נכתבים. Which means that everybody should know there is an eye that looks at you, and an ear that hears you, and everything you do is written in the book. That's what the Chazal, they told us. And maybe if you told somebody 100 years ago or 200 years ago, they wouldn't understand what it's all about. But today, when we have cameras everywhere, and then we have in the space all these things that they picture everything, and everything is recorded. So we should know that it is possible. And when I started to see this movie, the first thought that I had, but by this time we were students, and it was about 40 years ago, there was the first computer that was brought to Israel. It was in the Tel Aviv University. Now the computer was as big as this room, and the information you could get in this computer is very, very small. Today, every cell phone has much more information that could get into this computer. But the thing that I was thinking is that it's like a very great computer that is all the information of my life is in this computer. And so when I saw my life, the pictures of my life, I felt I was very regret. I was very disappointed with my life. And I thought to myself, this is not the movie I had to see. I had to see another movie, which means that this is not the life I was supposed to live. This is not the mission that I had to do. And I wanted to go back to the body. I wanted to do my mission. But the light that saw with me all my life, the light didn't say anything. It didn't say if I lived the right life or the wrong life, or if the things I did were right or wrong or whatever. The light just watched it with me. And there is another thing, that when I saw the pictures of my life, I didn't think of my life about like it was myself. I thought it was her. It was her life, but it was my responsibility. I mean, I was in her body. I was in this body. It was my responsibility. But this life, I knew, wasn't the life that I was supposed to live. I was supposed to live another life, but I didn't know what life I was supposed to live. I wasn't told what I was supposed to do. And in the other hand, I felt that it wasn't right, because I felt I didn't have the chance and I didn't have the knowledge to live the life that I had to live. And while I have all these thoughts, in my life was going very, very fast. When it was finished, the light asked me if I can sign that this was my life, And it's written in the Kabbalah books that before we go to heavenly court, everyone signs on the life they lived. I mean, everybody is responsible for what they are doing. And young people, when they, in the teenage, some young people, they feel, they want to do all strange things, and so I say to them, your life is your responsibility. I mean, you cannot say, okay, you have this problem, that problem, everybody has problems, but our life is our responsibility, and what we do in our life. Okay, so I said to the life, the life asked me if I signed it, this is my life. I said, yes, this is my life, but I told the life, it's not the life I was supposed to live. I was supposed to live another life. I was supposed to see another movie. This is not the movie I had to see. And the light didn't respond. And I said to the light, I want to go back to the body. Israelis have lots of chutzpah. Because not everybody can say, I want to go back in the body, and you go back in the body. Now, I only meet the people who came back, and those who came back I didn't meet. So, and I met people who didn't want to come back. And the light brought them back because the light told them they have a mission to do. And until they do the mission, they have to come back to the body. But most of the people, they want to come back. But I know somebody told me that he had these experiences. He said it was such a pleasure that he didn't want to come back. He wanted to stay there. He was so enjoying it, But for me, what I felt was that, okay, it's a pleasure, but I'm going to melt into the light. But there is something that I have to do, and what I have to do, I can do only in the body. I cannot do it out of the body, and I have to do it in this world. So many years later, when I learned Tanya, and the old Rebbe said that what God wish, the reason that God created the world is that God wants to have דירה בתחתונים, like to have an apartment here down this world. God wants to reveal here as it is. And the only way to do it is by the work of the Jewish neshamas in the bodies in this world. And so maybe when I read this, maybe I thought maybe that was why I wanted to come back. Also, the old Rebbe says also that when you do a mitzvah in this world, the word mitzvah in Hebrew is from the word tzavta. Tzavta means together, it's connection. Now, when you do a mitzvah, you make a connection for the unbounded with the boundaries in this world. And this is really what will happen when Moshiach will come, the redemption will reveal. This is what will be in this world, that the unbounded would be able to reveal itself into the boundaries, which I hope, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that we are ready now to see it in the body. Okay, so then I said to the light that I must come back because my husband is coming today. He was in the war for 3 months. I didn't see him, and today he's coming home. So I must come back, and I have to meet him. And the light didn't respond for this. So I was getting upset. I said to the light, if you don't bring me back now, I will not be able to go back. And the light asked me, why not? And I said, because I have such a great pleasure that I'm going to melt into the light. I'm going to vanish into the light. I will not have any existence anymore, and I will not even remember that I was in a body, that I had a body, that I will not remember that there is a world, a materialistic world. I will not remember anything, and I will not be able to go back anymore. And at this time, at this moment, I felt the great mercy of the light. A very, very great power of mercy. The unbounded mercy. And then I found myself back in the body. And I don't know how I went out of the body, and I don't know how I came back into the body. But when I found myself in the body, I started to cry, then I stood on my legs, I looked at the sun, and I said, the light of the sun is so pale. It's like, it's nothing. This light is nothing compared to the light that I saw. And then I said to myself, it is so good that this light is not lighting here, because I wouldn't be able to stay in the body. If the light was here, I would get out of the body. You know the story of Bnei Aaron, when they went in the Kodesh Kodeshim in Beit HaMikdash. The souls went out of the body, they didn't come back, because in Kodesh HaKodeshim, in Beit HaMikdash in Jerusalem, it was always, this light was there all the time. And that's why only the Kohen Gadol, the great Kohen, could go in there only once a year, because nobody else could get alive out of there. And if the Kohen Gadol went in there, and he was not 100% tzaddik, he did come out alive. And in the second temple, they used to chain them to a rope. And many of them, they pulled out dead, because they came, and people were buying it for a lot of money to become Kohen Gadol. They wanted to go there, and then they went there and they just died. And also, you know, since we're coming to Shavuot now, to the holiday next week, you know, in Shavuot, when we received the Torah, all the Jewish neshamas were there, and they went out of the body once, and then when they went out of the body, God showed us all the Torah. We saw everything. Like what we have to learn now, we just saw. And then we came back. And then the second time, we went out, we came back. And then they told Moses, if we go out again, we will not come back. So you will talk to God. You will go out, you talk to God, and you tell us what we have to do. Because it's, I don't know the word to use for this, but it was such a moving experience, you know, that they felt they couldn't take it another time. I mean, 2 times, and that's it. So I still, when I came back, I don't know, people ask me how long it was. I don't know how long it was, because I heard from, there is a very famous Israeli professor, Professor Mashiach. He was the head of the School of Medicine in Tel Aviv University, and he had this experience also. And he was asked how long it takes. And he said it can't be more than 4 minutes, because after 4 minutes, the cells of the body start to separate, and you cannot come back into the body. So I guess it was not more than 4 minutes. But on the other hand, once you get out of this world, you get out of the space and time. When we live in this world, the boundaries that we have here is space and time. And above this world, there is no space and no time. So it was above time and space. And I always tell you the story about Arizal, that when Arizal Arizal was the one who taught the Zohar, the mysterious of the Torah. And he once was sitting with his students, and he closed his eyes, and his face became pale. And after a while, he opened his eyes, and they asked him, Rebbe, what happened? He said, my soul, my neshama went up. And they asked him, and what happened? He said, I received a Torah. And they asked him, please teach us the Torah that you received. And he said, it will take me 70 years to teach you what I saw in here, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but when you get above time, you come back, it's here, it could be the same time. So when I stood on my legs and I looked at the sun and I started to cry, and I couldn't stop crying for 3 hours, and all the people in the street were still shouting and yelling, and the builder went down from the top of the building, and he took me to a medical center, which was not far away from this place. And I was checked, and I was checked for a few hours. And after a few hours, they told me, everything is okay. We don't find anything wrong with you. You're okay, you can go home. So after a few hours, I went out and I went home. And I looked at, by this time, I could already speak again. And by the way, I was crying not because something hurt me. I was crying because I was shocked. It was such a great shock for the body. I couldn't bear it, so I was crying. But when I went to the street, I looked at all the people and I asked myself, why everybody is so concerned, they're so worried, they walk in the street like, they have so many problems. I said to myself, there is this great light that takes care of everything, and nobody should worry. And for a few years, after this, not today I won't do it, but a few years after this, I wasn't afraid of anything. I could drive into the Arab villages while they are getting wild, and I was working in the Galilee factories, Galilee, and I was never afraid. But after a few years, I came back to myself. I realized it's not safe, to go there. Anyway, I came home, and my husband Chaim was home already, came back, and I told him my story. And he said, well, first of all, you don't tell nobody, because they'll put you in a crazy house if you tell them. And that was 40 years ago, and by this time, who heard about this? There were very few people who talked about it. And also, I heard from somebody who was asking, about 70 years ago, somebody asked the Rebbe Rayatz, it was before our Rebbe. He asked him if people came back, went out of the body and came back, and by this time, the Rebbe said, not in our time. But the last, I think, 40, 50 years, many people had this experience. There are millions of people here in America. I read a book that was written here last year by Ibn Alexander. He's a very famous doctor. He's a brain surgeon, and he wrote the book Proof for Heaven. He's not Jewish, but he had this experience. It's not exactly the same like I had, but he writes in his book, many things from Chassidus, from Kabbalah. And this can write only someone who had this experience. And he's a little confused because he has some, some things that it's not exactly, but mainly it was the same experience. And he said that before he had this experience, when people that he treated, they told him he had this experience, he said to them, well, it's very interesting, but he was thinking, it's crazy. It's not realistic, What is this? So we decided we're not going to tell anybody, and I wrote down, I sat down, I wrote everything I remember from this experience, because I realized that if I don't write it down, I will forget. And after another day, I start to, all my face become blue and black. I had hematoma, and so I had blood, until here, everything. And my hair fall, so I was looking very bad. And I was taken to the hospital again. And I was checked again, and by this time, I had a very good doctor, and after a while I had another 2 professors that were treating me, but they said there's nothing we can do. The only thing you have to do is to stay in bed for 3 weeks, because there's nothing that can help you. And so I stayed in bed for 3 weeks. And but it took a few months until my face got the color again. And I used to wear hats all the time because people were asking me, what happened to your hair? Why do you shave your scalp? And so after a few months, we had a friend that came here from America. It was the 70s. And he said, we told him about my accident, that I have very bad headaches, and my husband, he had problems because of the war. And he said, oh, you should do transcendental meditation. And we started to do transcendental meditation. And then we heard the Maharishi talking about the unbounded light. And we said, what? He knows something? Maharishi knows something. But after a while, we realized this was not, that's not what we are looking for. And it took about 7 years. And after 7 years, one day I went to visit my friends in Jerusalem who have just came back from America. They were here for about 1 year. And when they were in America, they started to become frum. Also because of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. My friend told me that it was Hanukkah, and she was looking at the window, and she said to her husband, look at the beautiful trees, with all the light, nice holiday. What holiday do we have? And then somebody knocked on the door. She opened the door, and there was 2 Chabad Hasidim, at the door. They told them, it's Hanukkah now. And he brought them Hanukkah candles and donuts, and they were so happy. They liked the candles, and they celebrated. So the little girl, they had a little girl, she said, I want to go to Chabad school. So she started to go to the Chabad school, and then that's how they became frum. So when they come back to Israel, they were already keeping a few mitzvahs. And when I came to visit them, I said, I go to sleep, I want to read a book. I went to the library, and I saw a book, a Siddur. I never saw a Siddur in my life, as I told you. So I picked up the Siddur, and I started to read. The first thing I read is, Modeh ani lefanecha, thank you, God, that you brought my neshama back in the body with mercy. Then I remembered that what brought me back in the body was the power of mercy. And I was so excited that I read all the Siddur from the beginning to the end. Shachris, Mincha, Haaretz, Shabbos, everything. I never read such a book. You know, even today, sometimes when I pray and I see in the prayers, things are written which I remember, you know. So